Frank Roberson joins us, an expert in protection and counterintelligence. He heads up the Black Rhino Group. Frank, thank you so much for your time today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back. Appreciate you guys.
Unfortunately, I don't think anybody was surprised that there was another assassination attempt on President Trump with a negative rhetoric that goes around about him yesterday. The question has been asked so many times, Frank, is he getting the kind of protection he needs?
No, he's not. It's a unique situation that I don't think that they've prepared for. This is the first time, I believe, in recent memory where a former president is running for president again that isn't in office. So he deserves and should be having should have the protection that the sitting president has at the moment, especially with all the threats he has.
Right, and you think it would have ramped up after the first assassination attempt and those massive failures, the Secret Service admittedly, with their head, stepping down and everything else, but yet it still didn't happen?
Yeah, that's surprising to me. I don't know how many times this is going to have to take, but it brings up two concerns. One, you got two amateurs that were able to get in and get that close to do that. And you have foreign adversaries that have threats against Trump that are watching this and watching this blueprint. And if amateurs can get that close, what's a professional going to do? He's got no shot if a professional's coming around and the detail or the outer perimeter can't be protected.
This is one of the questions people have been asking about. Maybe we'll get more details about later. But yesterday, this apparently was a spur-of-the-moment thing to go out and play golf, and this guy just happened to be in the area?
Correct. I heard yesterday that this was not on his schedule, and this gentleman allegedly has come all the way from Hawaii. So it is curious on how he knew. Someone at the golf course let him know. Somehow he figured it out, and I'd like to know that question too. That's an interesting question.
Okay, I'm going to just ask a question that's probably not very popular, but a lot came out yesterday about the man the FBI presented to the American people to give these facts. Can we trust what we are going to hear from the government about who this person is?
I think we have to see what actually comes out and how it comes out. They don't have a good history of hiding the information of people who could cause damage to the current administration or not on their timetable or values or what they're looking for in their political futures. I think they're coming out really fast. The Secret Service acting director's on site today already. They've already got the information out already. But it still comes down to, are you going to give us the real information? This guy allegedly flew from Hawaii to come over here and just happened to be driving by. That was a question I had last night. I was wondering how in the world he found out.
Frank, I would imagine in protecting a president or even a former president or any protectee, you have to have some level of knowledge of what the threats are out there, and that's where the counterintelligence comes into play. Are they doing enough investigating? Because I would imagine that President Trump gets a lot of threats.
I was with a client that was under a direct threat for 9.5 years, and it was a constant battle to get the information because the enemy always has one step ahead of you. They've already decided what they're going to do, what their plans are, and we have to make sure that we get it right every day, and they just have to get lucky once. You've heard that old adage for years, and we've got two amateurs that almost got it right. They got that close, and if either one of those two were professionals, we'd have a different conversation right now. But counter surveillance would have prevented yesterday.
What kind of counter surveillance?
Well, I'll just use my example because I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm just we try to figure out things so we can be better. If I was taking my client that had a direct threat against him to that golf course, I would have had former law enforcement or off-duty law enforcement, at least from looking at the aerials of the perimeter of that golf course. There are two areas that are along the roads. I would have had someone sweep those fence lines. We have dogs in the past, so have the dogs go along the fence line and then post up two cars along the fence line on both sides of the golf course. So no one's going to pull over to the side without seeing one or both of the surveillance teams sitting there. And they're not going to go and try to poke a gun through a fence and sneak into a fence if there's already somebody sitting there. So in my experience, that's what I would have done in this situation. I'd have had a total of 4, maybe 6 cars that would rotate around after it has been cleared. They can't leave the cleared area because you don't want somebody sneaking in after you've cleared it. But you have somebody there, at least 4 stagnant, and then maybe 2 roaming. And it would have probably been enough to keep that guy from stopping along the side of the road.
Can you see any reason at all why the Secret Service, now this is protection that you offer your clients, which just sounds amazing. My goodness, I hope I never have to use you, but if I do, I'll keep your number. Any reason at all to believe the Secret Service forgot this aspect, or they didn't think it was as important? Why would they have not followed those same procedures?
You know, I don't know, and I don't like the excuse of the manpower issue. Mm-hmm. If you don't have enough people, you go find enough people. If I can call up a company in Miami that only hires off-duty law enforcement, certainly the Secret Service can reach out to the Sheriff's Department, State Police, or somebody and say, hey, you got 4 units I can borrow for about 4 hours today, you know, and have them posted up around the perimeter of the golf course. If I can do that with a civilian client, certainly somebody should be able to make a phone call, even if it's off-duty law enforcement and the campaign has to pay for it. They have that option. Yeah. You know, when President Trump was just a regular businessman, billionaire running around, he had plenty of security, and when they had to beef it up, I'm sure that's what their options were. Yeah. And I'm sure they took advantage of that. It's just a lack of imagination. And the advanced team, if you don't have an imagination and you can figure out that somebody can come along and possibly stop along the side of the road and fire it at your client on the golf course, you shouldn't be an advanced guy.
Mm-hmm. Frank Roberson heads up the Black Rhino Group. Thank you, Frank. We appreciate your insights very much.
Hey, thanks for having me back. I appreciate you guys.
You bet.